Good morning, everyone. Dan Bates, President and CEO, Greater Hamilton Chamber of Commerce. Thank you for joining Coffee and Conversations. I'm actually not in my office today. I'm visiting one of our newer members, Gandwin Manufacturing on Seward Road. So I'm remote, like the rest of you. But anyway, we are really excited for our program today. Miami Valley rowing team. If you don't know that Hamilton has a rowing team, we do. And we're very excited to have them. And you're going to hear about some of the amazing accomplishments that they've had over the past few months with some, worldwide attention. And I think some exciting plans they have for the future. So with that, are we going to do self-introductions today, Laura, or not? Okay, so you know who I am. Now we're going to do self-introductions. Laura will handle that. And then we will get with our program and our presenters from the rowing team. Thank you.
All right. Hi, everybody. I'm Laura Merrill with the Greater Hamilton Chamber. So we'll just go around. Let me know your name and what company you're with. Chris, we will start with you.
Chris Cannell with the Hamilton City Schools.
Wonderful. Nancy.
Nancy O'Neill with the Greater Hamilton Chamber.
Jared. You're muted, Jared.
Sorry, Jared Dennison with Ohio.
I'm glad to have you with us today. Sandy.
Sandy Kesnoff, Frank's Glass.
Ashley.
Ashley Mills with Absolute Title Agency.
Great, glad to have you with us today. All right, we got two Kathys. We're going to do Kathy Mullman first.
Hi, Kathy Mullman. I'm actually a new member of the crew team.
Wonderful, glad to have you with us. And Kathy Ellman.
Hi, I'm Kathy Ellman. I'm with Spooky Nook Sports.
Glad to have you with us today too. And we have CT.
Are you able to hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. Sorry, I'm driving. Being safe, of course. This is Colette Thompson. I'm from Miami University Regionals, and I'm specifically at the Center for Social Impact. This is my first breakfast event or coffee and conversation. So I'm really excited, especially because I'm from Pittsburgh and love rowing and all that stuff. So I'm really just excited to hear what's going on with our Hamilton team.
Great. Well, we're excited to have you with us today.
Thank you.
Then Kristina and Mark, I will let you two introduce yourselves and kick it off.
Great. I'll do just a brief introduction right now. My name is Kristina Latta-Landefeld. I live in Hamilton, and I'm a board member and a volunteer coach for the rowing team.
And I'm Mark Correa. I'm originally from Barcelona, Spain, but I moved to Cincinnati 8 years ago. And I work at Children's Hospital, and I'm the head coach at the Great Miami Rowing Center.
All right, you want us to get started then, Laura?
Yep, that is fine. Take it away.
Excellent. Okay, well, everyone, I just wanted to start off by sharing, I've got a presentation for you. We're super excited about being here. Thank you so much to the Greater Hamilton Chamber of Commerce for hosting us. I'm going to start off with a little bit of history, not just about the rowing team or the rowing club, but also about Hamilton, because I feel like you really need to have context when we're talking about the Great Miami River and what opportunities and availabilities we have. I love that there's someone here from Pittsburgh, because we know what's happened in Pittsburgh in terms of the industrial build and turning away from the rivers and then turning towards the rivers, and then amazing development that has happened there. So we have a similar kind of story, and we're part of that story. So again, I'm just so excited to be here. Thank you. And I'm going to start off with a brief little video, and then we'll get into it. So I think we are ready to go here, and here we go.
It's completely different from any other sport I've ever done. It's one of the most peaceful things in the world. It's the rush of the water going by, it's the sound, it's the repetition of the movement.
It's feeling what it feels to gain speed, to glide on the water. And that
glide, that feeling of the boat moving, it's goosebumps.
I started rowing right before my sophomore year of high school. I thought 2 weeks, small commitment. I could give it a try, see what all the hype is.
And I don't know, ever since it has been something that I had a sense of family and community and something I could really push for.
You will build a lot of different muscles.
It requires a lot of mental strength. You gotta have a lot of that, and you get supported by everyone on the team.
Rowing is very much a team sport, right? You all have to do it together to get the boat moving. If somebody's off, you can feel, you're not gonna have that momentum.
It has been something that changed my life completely. I'm looking forward to rowing in college, so it's giving me a future, and it has completely rewritten everything I've known.
It's one of those sports that you might see on TV during the Olympics, but never really think that you would ever have the chance to try something like that. Not every community has that opportunity. Here in Hamilton, we have the perfect opportunity for that.
So I started rowing back in the beginning of the 90s. I'm originally from Barcelona, from Spain, and I started when I was a little kid. So the river, for me, it's life.
All right. So hopefully you all are still with me here. That gives me goosebumps. As Mark says, it's goosebumps, it's rowing. So again, just a brief intro. We are the Great Miami Rowing Center. Mark Aria is going to be talking a bit more about the rowing program itself later and where we are and what his vision is for the team. I'm going to be talking a little bit about the history and the history of the rowing team within the context of Hamilton, because that is so important to who we are and where we're going. And I want to make sure I give special thanks to Mike Dingledine from Community Design Alliance. He's really the one who put together this slide deck and made this presentation. I'm just presenting it sort of on his behalf today. But he has been with us basically from the very beginning. So I want to give special thanks to him as well. I should also say this, please feel free to interrupt me. I mean, I'll go through these pretty quickly, but for anyone from the chamber or anyone else, if you've got questions along the way or you want me to stop or go back to something, I'm happy to do that. Some of you may have seen this at different points, but this is actually from a postcard. And we can see the 4 bridges over the big Miami River. So isn't that funny already? The big Miami River, today it's the Great Miami River. And then we see that Champion Coated Paper Company. And I talked about Pittsburgh earlier, and cities like Pittsburgh, Hamilton is one of them. We were this industrial force that really made Hamilton the place where people could come from all over, from Appalachia, from places, moving in from other countries and coming across the country, coming here, and really finding the American dream. And then in 1913, we had this devastating flood, and it affected people from Dayton all the way down. But this has a huge impact on Hamilton and those other communities. But and Mike can tell this story way better because he's been here, his family has been here for multiple generations, and he's got stories that he can still tell about his grandparents thinking they weren't going to make it through the night. They were trapped in their attic, as their house was flooded. The thousands of people who lost their lives during this flood. 1913 is now, over 100 years ago. But if we think about that in terms of generations, it's really just a blink of an eye. And so it was economically devastating, certainly devastation in terms of lives lost. And that was a major scar, a tarnished, the river became tarnished then at that point. It became dangerous. So here's just a sort of an aerial view, looking at those 4 bridges. Again, you can see those, and you can see the little red mark at the north end of the river and the red mark down at the south end. And those are the 2 dams that really help create this very special pool of water. And what we know about the Great Miami River, when you go south of the dam, especially, is that it gets very shallow. So having to do with rowing, the rowing shells are called shells because they're very delicate. We were talking this morning, Kathy and I were, about, the boats that were wooden boats. And I started off in wooden boats, and then we went to fiberglass. And now they're really carbon fiber. So they're stiff, they're light, but man, they're brittle. And so if we run into something, even sort of a tap on the plastic dock, we can damage those boats, which are $40,000 or plus. A brand new 8 is $40,000. That's crazy. The depth is also really important. If we don't have enough leeway in terms of the boat depth, and we run aground, that's it. It hurts the boats. It's not like plastic kayaks that can sort of ride over it. So having this pool is extremely important for us. We also have a couple of things that are things that we have to work with. So the fact that there's a hydraulic flood protection makes it so that the water has a quick rise and fall. So we had really high water a week or two ago. And as you'll see, without rain, it'll be down within a day or two. That was constructed so that we can quickly get the water out from our main business sector, and we don't have another 1913 flood. There's also, because the levee walls, vertical access to the water, which just makes it harder than in some locations where you can just sort of walk right in. But an added benefit is that we've got wind protection. And that's true. On most really windy days, we can still go out, which is awesome. So here are the different points of entry into the river. Down at the sort of south end there, you can see that's our public boat landing, which is used some, but not a whole lot. And if you're around for dam days, or you definitely knew that because we had skiing and other recreation that was around that. Up at the northern end, you'll recognize Markham Park. And that obviously has access to our bike path, which is fantastic. And then right across the river is where we're located. So right as you cross the High Main Bridge, right sort of at the end of Park Avenue is where we're located. And then to the north there, that yellow dot, I'll show you what that is in a second. So in our first wave, sort of the first iteration for rowing in Hamilton, really came out of this Vision 2020. So this was, as you can see, produced in June 2001. It took, a year or two to get it going. But the idea behind this, as visionaries around the city, is thinking about what is the potential. And I love that statement there: smart, grow, sustainable Hamilton. So that's the vision of Hamilton at that time. So over the next 20 years, what are some things we want to do? And from that group of people, mostly sort of concerned citizens, some business owners, some people who were really invested in the future growth of the city, recognized that the river offered a wonderful opportunity for rowing and water recreation. So they actually came together and they made rowing in Hamilton happen. Which is really phenomenal. The woman there in the light blue sort of V-neck shirt, Frances Manone, is still involved with our club. She's been there obviously from the very beginning. She's held roles on U.S. Rowing Board, so our national board. She helped get Cincinnati rowing going. She helped get Chicago rowing going. So we were so lucky to have her in the beginning, really provide that expertise in terms of what it took for a rowing club to happen. And some of you may recognize others in this picture. So Miami Conservancy District, their mission is to protect, preserve, and promote the Great Miami River. And we have been a great partner of theirs. I talked about that access point that we have that's actually not for public access. So we have to have special permission to use that ramp, which is really at the end of Wayne Avenue. We have to have special permission in order to take our boats up and down, which also means it's not an ideal ramp situation. It certainly does not look like the beauty that we have over at Markham Park. But we are so grateful to them to be providing us with opportunities to row, because it really is up to them. So in the second wave, what we see here is the closing of Champion Paper Mill. And it wasn't the only industrial complex to close down in this era. But we know that as they closed, just like the 1913 flood was devastating for the city, this was also devastating. I just heard some stories recently about the bricks being taken apart, and it may not have even been individuals who had spent their careers there, but it was parents or grandparents. And there was such a connection to this company, and this company's providing a livelihood for Hamiltonians, that when it closed and when it started being taken apart, was just, it was devastating. For us, what it meant is that there was an opportunity, again, to partner with them. So what you see here, this red rectangle towards the bottom, that's what I pointed out earlier. That's where we're currently located, but it's all outside. So there's no protection. That blue area is part of that Champion Mill, the whole complex. And I'll show you a picture of that in a second. So it's about a block away. It's not very far. But what was a potential opportunity, as you can see here, is to maybe add an access point. And this was in partnership with the Hamilton Community Foundation and the City of Hamilton, that said, hey, we want to continue supporting the rowing club. How do we make this happen? Let's make use of this unfortunate circumstance. And so we actually moved into that blue building in terms of our indoor training facilities. And I know that all of you, or I'm guessing all of you, know which blue building I'm talking about. It's very tall. When I first started with the club, we were still in there. And we used to always joke like, man, this is really a building that would be more appropriate if you hung the boats because it was so tall. But there's these big like concrete pylons within it that really made moving the boats around very difficult. So anyway, so here was an opportunity, as you can see, and we actually got a CDBG grant through the city to see what it would take to put in a ramp similar to this. There were at times big posters. So you may have seen that on the boathouse or the blue building that actually, showed, hey, this is where we're located. And again, this was our indoor space. And the hope was to be able to turn this into a permanent boathouse for us, to have everything we needed in one place. By the way, that CDBG grant, what we found out, it was really just exploratory, but the result of it was that it was going to cost about $1 million, which is just astronomical. But it was going to cost about $1 million to put that ramp in. So anyways, I started with the club in February 2016, and I got a call from the person who was the executive director at the time for what was Row America. And Row America, and I had been in the rowing world since 1998, last century. I started in high school up in Toledo, and I rowed through high school, I rowed through college. Unlike most of my friends, I can say Mark is probably one of the only other people that I know where we didn't really ever lose our love for it. So I always found a way to continue being involved with rowing. In fact, I went back and I got a master's degree in exercise and sports studies, which is really about coaching. And so I have coached at the college level, high school level, club level. And so Joy Nix was the director of what was Row America Hamilton. So Row America was this club that provided this opportunity to say, hey, we're going to give you all the equipment, all the management. We're going to centralize administrative tasks so that we can try to lower the cost for clubs, and then we can brand these clubs around the country. Some of you, again, may have knowledge of this, that GMRC and Row America came into partnership for about 2 years. And what we found out, and it happened right about the same time that we were about 1.5 years into it, is that this model ultimately didn't work. And one by one, those Row America clubs started closing. So this is a recent image taken from their website. We can see that there's 3 clubs here that are still around under that Row America name. And if you know anything about Greenwich, Connecticut, Rye, New York, or Westport, Connecticut, it's called the Gold Coast. There's a lot of money there that supports this specific model. So within 6 months of me coming on as a coach and Row America leaving, we said, hey, GMRC was here before, we're here to stay. And for a short amount of time, I was sort of a one-person show. I was coaching the cardio row at 6 a.m., doing administrative tasks during the day as the executive director, getting ready for our first Dragon Boat Festival, coaching the youth in the afternoon, coaching masters later. And that was short-lived, but it was awesome. So it was really great to get to know sort of the community in that way. And then about 6 months later, we hired another coach to come on and help out. So these next few slides, it's a little bit of a transition, but again, that whole contextual piece of it, I think, is really important because all of these play different parts into this greater puzzle, right? So Spooky Nook, this opportunity came, and wow, we get to rethink, reimagine, and reuse this site that was both a godsend, life-giving for so many people, so many generations, and then was such a devastating heartbreak. And here's an opportunity to bring this together, and it's massive, and this is going to transform Hamilton. Yay, how exciting. I want to come back here real quick and just point out that blue building is part of, that rowing club complex that we were hoping to be a part of. This is a picture from, I don't know, someone here is from Spooky Nook, so maybe you would know, but maybe a year and a half ago, it was before, obviously we got the roof on. So I don't know, in this COVID time, it might've been a year and a half ago, but really cool image of seeing this start to come together. Here's another image looking the other direction. Again, you can see that blue building, you can see the 4 bridges. And I saw this just recently, just went around it, and man, we are coming along. It is so awesome. This is an image that we get to see on the river. And I have, when there's been an opportunity where people are talking about, oh yeah, they're working all night long, or they've got people working in there at 4 in the morning, I can say, yes, I know. Because when we go out on the water and it's this dark still in the morning, we can hear people working, we can see people working, and it's so exciting. So this is helping us to reshape what the future of Hamilton is, and especially around that sports, well-being, recreation. So major economic driver here. We know that this is going to mean people, it's going to mean dollars, it's going to be recreation. So I just want to point out on this one that it's also going to bring additional recreation. We've got families who'll be coming in for weekend tournaments, and they might have a sibling or a parent who's interested in whether it's kayaking or rowing, things like that. So there's lots of opportunities here. And again, pitch to the chamber. I hope that you're able to join the ball. Got my tickets this weekend. I'm super excited. But this is awesome. So another piece of our story, has to do with, again, this Champion Mill site, talking about the Beltline and additional recreational opportunities. And the city actually has, it's called the Active Transportation Plan. So what that talks about is that when we talk about active transportation, it's not just about bike paths as being recreation, but it's also modes of transportation for a lot of people, whether it's because they want to be more environmental, because they use a wheelchair to move, to transport themselves. They don't have a car, they are pedestrian walkers, whatever that might be. There's lots of different uses, but we're moving towards reutilization of this former rail line, now belt line as well. Here's a couple of pictures from it if you haven't seen any of these recently. Again, awesome. I highly encourage you to go and do that, check them out. And we're hoping for that bottom left picture, you can see that this is happening in stages, but it will eventually come around, loop around the front end of Spooky Nook and connect up with the current bike path that's there. So this third wave is about growth, and we can see this economic boom that's happening. I live right off of Main Street over on Ross at D. So I'm just out of the frame here, but everything from the Rossville Flats, right? Apartments, businesses, restaurants. It's exciting. If you haven't been to the top of Fretboard yet, please do. I'm looking forward to having some board meetings up here, some coffee chats, you know, whatever that might be, but to be able to sit, or rather stand and look out and over at the rowing. Billy Yanks is another example. It's just awesome. Beautiful restaurant on the bottom floor, apartments that have been redone. The hub opened this summer. That was exciting to watch. It felt like every single day there were different changes that were happening. But all of this is talking about bringing people to the city. And we're talking within walking distance of the rowing club. So there's going to be more and more attention towards the opportunity to participate in whatever way it might be. It could be sitting and watching, which I do hear a lot of people like to do. They love to see the boats on the water, but it could also be joining a cardio row class, taking a kayak out, which we have available. We have stand-up paddle boards, learning how to row. We certainly want to encourage that. So Hamilton's river plan was created a few years ago, and I'm not going to go through the whole thing, certainly, but I want to point out this quote at the bottom. So it's from 1920, so about 100 years ago, from the city plan of Hamilton. And the quote there is, "Too few cities are given riverfront opportunities such as the Great Miami River offers to Hamilton. It is veritably the front yard of the city, yet how shamefully it has been neglected." 100 years ago. And so we've got an opportunity. This Plan Hamilton River Plan has some specific goals and came out of community feedback. I'll tell just a real quick story. There was an opportunity at one point to go, and you had your red dots and your green dots. And the green dots, they had these posters all over, and they had different ways of using the river around it. So it was like the bike paths, or, you know, walking or rowing or jet skiing or whatever it might be. So people could go around and put their dots on them. And I came up and there were lots of dots already. And it was like all of the green dots were next to rowing. And I started looking around like, did I miss something? Did I, you know, are all of our rowers here? Did the board members come and just like put all the green? And no, that wasn't the case. It just re-emphasized for me, and I think for others, people love rowing here in Hamilton. They love it, even if, again, what their participation is to watch and support and cheer. Or maybe it's a little bit more of an invite. Please come join. We want you to. So within these are the goals that have been identified for the Hamilton River Plan. And as you can see, all of them with stars specifically have to do with what we can offer, what Great Miami Rowing Center has to offer. The good news within that is that it's not going to take pulling someone in from the outside, raising money from the ground, trying to think about how are we going to do this, like so many other plans involve. We can say, hey, we're here, right? How do we just better make those connections? How do we make it available? Within that plan is also talking about housing opportunities. We need to increase the amount of housing stock generally. I just saw a news article in the Journal News that talked about housing prices are going up all across the county. Fairfield had the highest raise. Hamilton had the second highest in the county, but we also just need more housing. So what we're looking at is we have some exciting opportunity that's happening right now. And this is the site that we're on, where the rowing club currently is. So you can see B Street there, the sort of curvy street, is the one that comes off of the High Main Bridge and goes to Park Avenue. And you can see the path where we currently take the boats in and out of the water along the levee wall. There is a developer who is planning on creating apartments that will be beautiful, probably the best view of the city, at least on the facing the east side, I guess, facing the east side of the city. Some of the best views of the city, totally walkable. I think these people are going to be up and like rowing in the morning, or maybe, going over to Spooky Nook or going down there in the afternoon, whatever it might be. This is going to be like the prime spot for people to live, but it's also hopefully going to be a prime spot for people to recreate on the river. So we are currently working with that developer to have a combined boathouse and apartment complex. So here's just another view of this. And we're so excited that this really is the time. We're going to make this happen, and we're finally going to have a home that we can be bringing people to. I won't go much further because Mark's going to talk about all the things you're going to do in this space. But the point is that we're at this juncture of our history, looking into our future, that we're just so excited about. So thank you for your time and learning a little bit of the context of Great Miami Rowing Center, and I will pass it off to Mark.
Thank you, Kristina. I will share my screen. I continue the presentation. For me, it's now a little bit over a year that I joined the team. And as I said before, I'm originally from Spain, from Barcelona. And this is just a picture of how I grew up. If you imagine the club, my club is in the middle of the city, is in the port. So basically it's a club. The structure of the club, it's a business. So basically you have the membership, but if you see in the top right, you see the views from the club for the port. So basically it's a marina. So the business is a marina. But if you see underneath, there's a club. You see the shells and the boats and the bottom. But at the top, we had a restaurant. And in the first floor, in the ground floor, we have a bar. And at the bottom where the shelves, we had another restaurant. So basically it was a business model. So to make profit, because rowing is not bringing that profit, right? So it was a huge business. But for me, what it was incredible, starting rowing at the 90s, was finding a home. So what get me caught into the sport was first my friends. So I made a lot of friends in that club, and I spent the whole time at the club. At that time, we didn't have cell phones, right? So it was extremely important for my mom, my parents, to know that I was somewhere, that I was in a place, in a safe place, with all my friends, with my coaches and training and everything. So we spend most of the time in that club. It's a beautiful club. So just to have you an idea of from where I'm coming from, the row space over there, it's in the marina, it's in a port, it's a lot of traffic. It's in a U-shaped venue with 1,500 meters maximum. And then I arrived to Hamilton, and then I found this perfect thread of water, which is 3K length, and with 2K perfectly straight from the Black Bridge to the Columbia Bridge. So that was incredible. It was, and I rapidly fell in love with the stretch of water, with the city, with what we had over there. So that's the views from my office when I'm coaching the kids. I promise I have the best views. It's goosebumps every time that I'm coaching them. Doesn't matter if it's raining, it doesn't matter if it's sunny, it's cloudy, it's always extremely beautiful. And here you have some of the beautiful pictures from the lounge when I'm coaching. So the location, there is no price for what we have in Hamilton. And I completely fell in love with the water, with the community, with the team, of course, with the kids. And we have the perfect stretch of water to spend for water sports, not only rowing, any water sports. And the reason, there's no traffic. There's some fishermen, in all these years, I only see one motorboat in the water. A whole year, only one. So basically, it's protected, it's safe, it's the perfect place. And of course, we're in the middle of Hamilton, who is these beautiful buildings, the people walking around during summer. So it's fascinating. So we have the mission. Of course, we have a mission as a club, but basically, we want to promote not just rowing, we want to promote water sports and to open this river, this beautiful stretch of water to the community. I'm a high performance coach. So for me, the mission is to provide the best for this community, the best for these athletes, to have the perfect equipment, the perfect stuff, so that we can fully meet the rowing sports needs. And of course, to do that, we need to be self-sustained. So that's extremely important for us. If we check what we can get, so right now we start with a little youth program, then we have a master's program, we had at some point a para rowing program. So, but these are still little capacity of that we can get, because if we open our minds to the community, we are open the doors to the community, we can offer some services to the non-members of the club and have the social non-competitive, the social competitive aspects, the youth, and the high performance, which it's a little tiny cherry on the top of any sports program. So here's a vision. So how we create this market segmentation of the club, but it's huge, the potential that the center could offer, not just to the rowing community, of course, for the whole Hamilton community. So what we can offer, some of these programs that are already running, but I put them in short, mid, and long term, depending on how difficult, how much time we need to build them. But of course, social events. I mean, if we have a club, we can organize stuff. We can organize events indoors. We can organize events outdoors, regattas, competitions. Learn to row. We need to teach the community. It's fantastic, this sport that kids row, but also 80 years older people can row. It's a beautiful a long-term sport. Then we can create these competitions, summer leagues, social events in the river for paddle, dragon boats that we had previously. This is in a very short term, that's already, we had them. I would love to work with different associations, like veterans, cancer associations, eating and emotional disorders, corporate team buildings, and then, of course, continue with the programming of rowing programming, as anyone that wants to continue pursuing the rowing career or learning a little bit more about the sport, and then start teaching and coaching the coxswains as well. And the long term, of course, we continue with organizing some other events that I would love to organize, like summer leagues, duathlons, triathlons that I've been lucky to do in Spain, which including rowing, not just excluding the river, and then involve all the schools that we have around and the universities that we have around. Some of the athletes, after they graduate, they stay around so they can continue enjoying the sport. And then we have the youth and the high performance, the athletes that they really want to compete. These athletes, they might need a little bit more programming, especially the youth, because we have them for 3-4 years. And they need attention if they want to pursue rowing in their career and they continue rowing in college. So they need a little bit more attention. One of my dreams is to create a middle school league and high school league. I want to create a competition. Could be indoors, could be outdoors, but involve the schools together and having a common competition, not being a scholastic. So just being a rowing indoor outdoor competition between the schools in Hamilton, and then thinking about the high performance. These are programs that need completely full attention. And these athletes, if we have a center, these athletes will come, will stay, will live here. They want to make to the national teams. So basically they want to train, they want to work around, they live in the city, so they spend time, and they are people are proud to have these athletes in their communities. These are some of the programs that I've been talking. I mean, it's some of them we already have them. So we are renting some of the equipment that we have. We have periodical activities with the community. We are the picture on the top is we are learn to row at the VOA Park. So basically, we are actively recruiting and actively looking and teaching rowing in the community, and having these youth and masters programs running. I mean, they are really successful in the competitions, and we need the community to know that we are the Hamilton team. We are defending the colors of the city. And then continue organizing weekend rowing users activities that will bring more these athletes to stay in hotel Airbnbs or use the city to support the city. And rowing camps, we already talked with the YMCA to organize some camps during the summer. We want to collaborate with them to include rowing in the YMCA during the summer. And the coxswains and the para rowing athletes recovered this program that we had in the past. In the long term, I had the high performance program, right? But thanks to coastal rowing, we had the opportunity to go to US trials with some athletes. Some athletes asked me to go and coach them for coastal rowing. And we qualified several boats for the Worlds. And actually, the two pitchers, the bottom is Cassidy Norton and Chris Back. So both of them are from Cincinnati, from Hamilton. So both of them defend the colors of the USA at the World Championships that passed October at the Worlds in Portugal. So basically, we have the potential to bring these athletes to the top level, to the national team. And that is extremely exciting that a city like Hamilton have the potential to create top athletes. And that will bring more athletes that would want to come. Actually, some other athletes from other programs, they asked me to move here. And I told them that we just need a little bit more time, but we will have them in the future. And here's a picture of three of us. Coach from Hamilton, Great Miami, Rowing Center, Chris Bag and Cassidy Norton, both of them from here, from the Midwest, from Hamilton, from Cincinnati, defending the colors of the national team. So Great Miami, for the last year I've been here, I experienced that we are more than just a rowing club, just a crew. We need to put this together. I don't want a boathouse where people go row and go back. I want to have the family that we are. We want to include the community to create that feeling that engaged me into rowing, that feeling of family and community, and spend time at the club that we love, and expand this to the whole community. We are more than just rowing. We are Hamilton. So pro Hamilton. So thank you so much, and hopefully you like what we are doing and where we are going, which is more important. It's coming. And that's exciting, not just for us, but I think it's very exciting for the whole community what we can offer, and that brings me, and that's making me extremely excited and happy to be here, because I think that the chamber have a big role to play with us, and I really appreciate. We really appreciate all your help and all your attention that you're having and all your support. So thank you.
That was awesome. Thank you so much, Kristina and Mark. Does anybody have any questions for them? Well, I've got a question. Well, Tiffany's got a question. How about Tiffany? Let her
You
go
go
first.
ahead, Laura.
No, you go ahead first.
Okay. I don't think I heard you say this number, but how many people do you currently have in your program? And kind of what is your next goal to grow, like specifically for, I guess, the rowing team?
So it's interesting, the question. So when I joined the team, the first meeting that I had with the presidents, it was shocking, because a year ago, after all what happened with COVID, we only had 7 kids. That was extremely hard to start a program in January last year with just 7 kids. We finished the season with 39. So we went to nationals. We had 6 boats at nationals. So it was a huge achievement. Sadly, 10 of these kids graduated. So we went back to 29. And now, after a huge recruitment that we had, all the effort that the club put, we are back to 40. We start a new program with the J roads, with middle schoolers, little kids, 12, 13 years old, which is great. Some of them, they have 10, 11 years old. And if we can keep these kids doing 7 years, it's going to be a huge impact on their careers as well, if they continue to pursue rowing. Yep.
And on the adult level, we've got about 15 masters rowers. And then, like Mark said too, there's a lot of learn to rows and things like that. So there's people who sort of pop in and out, but those are, like you said, sort of the mainstay rowing program numbers.
Sorry, I have a follow-up question to that. Most of the kids that are in the program of the 40, are those kids from Hamilton? Are they coming, I know that at one point there were several from Mason. Kind of where do you see those kids coming from into the city for the rowing program?
I don't know if Mark's waiting for me, but I'll say a couple of things real quick. They come from all over. So we have rowers from Hamilton and from, trying to think of as far away, in my timeline, we had a kid who drove over from Indiana, Dayton, Loveland, Cincinnati. So that's sort of our general geographic region. But in terms of our youth program, it's mostly Talawanda, Hamilton, Cassidy went to Ross, Mason, Lakota.
That's awesome. And then my last comment, and we'll go to Laura, not a question, but a comment. I've done the cardio row. Did I hear you say that you still do those? That's an absolute blast and an amazing workout. So I need to look back at that schedule. It's been probably 4 years since I did the cardio row, but I'd highly recommend it.
So I guess my question is, what ages do you start? And I said something about you got 10, 11-year-old. So if I've got a young child, like what kind of things do they learn and what age groups do you start with?
So we start this program with the middle school. The main reason is because we are teaching both sweeping, which is with 1 hour, and we are teaching schooling with 2 hours. And there is a lack of, there is a gap and a lack of education on rowing and schooling in the US, especially because in college, most of the big teams, they are teaching to row in big boats with just 1 hour. So basically what we want is that these little kids start learning schooling, so 2 hours, and then from there develop and evolve to row with 1 hour. Basically, we are teaching little kids from middle school up to high school. That's the junior program. It doesn't matter if it's just the last year or the last 2 years of high school. It's for us, we are not, so of course we would love to have more kids, young kids, but of course we had athletes as well just for the last senior year or for the last 2 years in high school. So it's open for everyone.
So I have a question. Sorry, I have a question.
Go ahead.
You know, I mean, the program is great. I think what the kids experience, what they learn, I think that it's kind of a melting pot of different school districts is also great. But, you know, from a business perspective, an economic development perspective, I think there is a huge potential here. And so my question would be, you know, how can we do a better job as a community or maybe even the chamber to get more awareness that this exists? And, you know, it's a pretty freaking cool thing to have in our community. So how do we promote that as, you know, exciting, unique, and the huge potential for growth?
Dan, I'll just start real quick and say that, you know, I think that over the last year, there have been more events that we've been a part of. And part of this is, you know, Mark talked about this, like we'd like to ignore COVID, but we can't ignore COVID, and that it's a team sport. So part of the context that we're talking about right now is that there's been this weird gap of time that we weren't able to do as much of that sort of outreach. Kathy, I'm going to point you out again. Kathy Mullman here reached out to Corey and I. She lives in Hamilton, Lindenwold, and she saw us, met us at Operation Pumpkin. So that was an opportunity where we did have a fun event. We had a fundraising event where we dropped little rubber duckies off from the bridge, and then one of them was pulled, and the person whose number that was who purchased it won it. But in terms of selling those ducks, in terms of having that event itself, being at Operation Pumpkin, having rowing machines out, those were all opportunities where people got to learn more about us. And then here we are in January, 3 months later, and Kathy emails us and says, hey, I learned about you at Operation Pumpkin and I'm interested in joining. And she came and joined us this morning for a workout. Thanks again. Good job. So I think that as we crawl out of COVID, there's going to be more and more opportunities like this, including things like what Mark said. You know, we had the Dragon Boat Festival, corporate rowing programs, whether it's sort of a one-day event or it's a couple times that people come down, or we start doing these summer leagues, which some cities do, that provide opportunities for businesses come down, and we can have an ODW versus 80 acres versus Matandi Steel, because Matandi always wins the Dragon Boat Festival, you know? So I think those are some opportunities too that we will start to be building into that. And Mark, I don't know if you had anything else you wanted to add to it, but those are just a few examples that popped into my mind.
Yeah, I think we need to make a better job. I mean, of course we had COVID, but I think we need to get a better job to open our minds a little bit more as a club. Huh? I mean, we need to open to make everyone know that we are here, that we are at Hamilton, and be a little bit more engaged with the community. Not just because we are offering some service, that we are offering something to the community as well. We are doing something for the community as well. I mean, if we can go for a social events, we can go. Operation Pumpkin was a successful event. We were there. People knew about us. And at the same time, I think it would be really important as this center develops, we will need help to create these businesses inside the center. So we are, the Rowing is a non-profit, but of course, if we want to be self-sustained, of course, maybe the restaurant or the leasing company for the other boats, or we might need a little bit of help in that side, just to make the profit for the Rowing and for the community center. I think it's two aspects. Need us to be more open and use to let the different businesses that we are here, but at the same time, how we grow as a center to be completely full sustained.
Are there opportunities to, you know, to make this more of a spectator sport where there's, you know, maybe there's competitions among the team itself, you know, where the community can be invited out to not just watch the students row, but watch them maybe compete with each other or learn. It just seems to me that if we could turn this into opportunities where people can come out and be spectators to, you know, see something other than just, you know, when there's corporate competitions and things like that, you know, do you think that would have any value?
Yeah, absolutely. And what I thought you were talking about at first was the literally being able to see it, because the levee is very important, but it's also a little bit of a blocker to the river, which it's a big blocker. And so even just getting people like close enough to the levee to be able to see what's going on, I think that's one piece. But I think what you ended up asking really was about how to engage people. And there absolutely are those opportunities. But again, I think like Mark said, we need to make them more readily available for people. Cardio row was one of those that people, I never want to be in a boat, but they loved cardio row. And so it was a way for them that they were able to engage. So yes, the answer is yes. And I think 22 is the year that we really start bringing more people into our boathouse, into our training facility, and that you're going to see us out and about a lot more as well.
I wonder if there's a way, and I'm just throwing this out, it may not even be a good idea, but I'm wondering if there's a way to partner with some local businesses, you know, restaurants, bars, whatever, where they have like a package, you know, and for a price, you know, it becomes an event. And it creates greater awareness where people can, you know, sit on the riverbank or whatever. And I'm just kind of thinking out loud here, but, you know, I mean, I think that that's something that people might connect with that wouldn't necessarily see themselves coming out to watch rowing. But then you turn it into something where, you know, they can have some food and drink and watch the rowing and all. You know, next thing you know, they're hooked on something they never expected to be.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Mark, do you have anything to add? No?
No, it's great. It's great.
The other thing I'm thinking is, could we do some live streaming with TV Hamilton and put that, you know, on the screens and like Casual Pint and stuff like that?
That would be so cool.
You know, Municipal, they all have those screens that they can, you know, connect to. And I think just so the average person in Hamilton is constantly exposed to, you know, there's more than just, you know, baseball, football, soccer, there's also rowing, you know, and I would think that local businesses would get on board with that.
You know, I walked my dog past Clark's today, and I was thinking about how, like, you know, the first thought was, did they just sell baseball? And then, like, as I was thinking that, I saw the lacrosse sticks. So I think exactly that point. That's a big old window right on B Street. You know, maybe talking to Clark's about selling some rowing stuff too. Even if it's, you know, water bottles with our logo on it or something like that.
Yeah, TV is a big one. So when World Rowing streamed the World Championships, and I think I had the clip. We launched a boat, and right away they say USA is in front, Great Miami Rowing Center is in front. So that was a big name at the world, just saying, hey, Great Miami is here. I might have the clip. We might take just a second. But it's just to be really, really out there. And TV is, of course, it's big. It's big for everyone. I have it here. Oh, I went to the beginning.
We can't hear it, Mark.
Oh, yeah, it's because it's streaming from
off the back of these bigger boats.
Oh, there it is.
It's really hard to be at the back of this fleet. You can see the texture of the water having changed where they've all been and joining up with the darkness of the water, but we're now in where the wind is really starting to have an impact on them. They'll all be starting to feel that breeze come in across their left-hand shoulders, and it's only going to continue to build the further out to this first mark we get.
Well, Ukraine in their distinctive yellow, luminous yellow hats now have clear water. They're a length and a half up on the Shandon and Port McGee crew here, currently holding second place, who have 3/4 of a length up on the UL Tyrian Club, and Italy 3, where we find the Murcarolo combination there, tussling it out for the third place position. All of these boats will be trying to cut up tide now as they make their way towards turning point 1. We can see Ukraine already changing course and moving up that way. I think all of these boats will have been considering.
I think it was not the clip, but they mentioned several times with Miami as we start, because we were in front, so that was a big thing. So just that was the walls in Portugal. So I think it was great that the name of Great Miami was out there. So I can send you all the clip. So because I don't know exactly when is the clip, but I can cut it and show it to you, to all of you. Maybe we can stream it at some of the TVs or. But yeah, that was the thing. But they mentioned several times.
Not easy to start. 20 men's quadruple sculls, all eager to race. And here we are, safely underway, also with the penalty for the Czech Republic, for Italy, and for Finland. And now no penalty at all for James Scott and Peter O'Hanlon.
We're holding out in the Bay Area here, looking forward to giving you the coverage as these quads get up to speed. USA 1 leading the field at the moment, the Great Miami Rowing Center. They've had a great start here, pushing out for the early lead. Ukraine 1 going with them, Ireland 5 right alongside them.
Yeah, that was the point. So they mentioned several times our team in Hamilton. So that I think it was impressive for us to be there. So I think it's so cool, and we need to use that. Yeah, stream TV. I mean, make us out there, which is great.
We're excited to have you two with us today, Kristina and Mark. It's amazing. There's so many good things going on in Hamilton, and we're excited to help the Great Miami Rowing Center talk about what y'all are doing. If either one of you want to tell us like how to contact you or where someone could go for more information.
Yeah, absolutely. So greatmiamirowing.com is our website. We're on Facebook as well. Mark's email address is just coach@greatmiamirowing.com. And there's also president@greatmiamirowing.com if you've got bigger questions for the club.
Wonderful. So we're back in 2 more weeks. We'll be back January 25th. We're going to have Teresa Youngstrom, RN. She is a dementia specialist. She's got some amazing topics to talk about. I think we've all had some issues with some family members, maybe. So she's really got some informative information for us. So we will be back in 2 weeks, January 25th. And we appreciate Kristina and Mark taking time to be with us today. So we will see you all later.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.